Well, good morning, everybody. We're going to be starting the Sugar Morning, the Sugar Club. And so we're going to make this a monthly event. It's going to often be on the first Saturday of every month. It's going to be from 9 to 10. It's going to be a presentation, questions and answers. We're going to record this. We're going to call people up after, before, just to make sure we cover all goals, and we're going to set up some smart goals. So Sugar Morning, Sugar Club. So one of the things that unfortunately, since I started practice medicine, diabetes has tripled. And to me, it is the new smoking, the new epidemic. What I hope that people will emphasize is that for most of us who are overweight, is that losing 30 pounds, not for all of us, who can actually put diabetes into remission in about 75% of us to half of us, depending on what stage in diabetes we have. So we have our young team that's going to talk about what we're going to do today. So fire away, guys.
There we go. I had myself muted. Thank you so much, Dr. Curnew, for the introduction. So essentially, yeah, so this is our table of content for today. We'll try to make it, like 1 hour, like we say, but, we never know if it goes over. But so essentially, we're going to be going over the introduction to the Sugar Club, what we hope to do this year with some of the reforms, as well as our book, 30 Days to a Healthier You, which sort of fits into part 1. And then we'll be going through, yep, exactly. And then we'll be going over some frequently asked questions regarding diabetes, and just finally fun trivia at the end with a bit of a summary. Awesome. Yeah. So, our mission really is to be the source for your diabetes information, to help you on your journey. The thing is, there's just more information on the internet than to know what to do with. Good information and bad information. So we really want to help you consolidate some of it. That's why we put on these webinars, our YouTube channel, and everything on there. Our vision really is to help you put your diabetes into remission, to lead healthier lives, longer, more quality ones as well. For us, sometimes you don't have the right partner to be exercising with, or putting habits into practice with. So that's what we hope to do with our team. So that's really our vision here.
Okay.
Cool. So introduction. For our reformed, Sugar Club, we have two sort of sectors, right? So we have the main Sugar Club, which is what it used to be in the past. It's simply going to be, check-in calls with you every once in a while if you're interested, as well as after the diabetes educator, as well as some goal setting, as well as Sugar Morning, which would be the first Saturday of every month. Here we'll be talking about diabetes management, some of the, the underlying physiology, but we won't get too complicated with that, as well as some goal setting stuff. So that's really the point of Sugar Morning. But you also have a little bit of a focus group that we're interested in starting, which is the 30 pounds at 30 weeks. This is really trying to, put diabetes into remission, as well as the individual calls and the Sugar Morning, both of which will be available for 30 and 30. We'll have the club rotations, which is a neat little thing. So we have some wonderful people at the clinic doing some clubs, such as weight loss, weight management, and we'll talk about that on the next slide in a sec. But they're doing some really, really interesting stuff. So I think, rotating with them and jumping on their Zoom links and seeing what what they're interested in doing, and how some people have also lost weight would be amazing for us. So that's really the point here with the 30 pounds and 30
I think you said, Adam, that 30 pounds in 30 weeks. Why do we pick that number? Because most of us who have sugar diabetes struggle with our weights, and the best body mass index is somewhere between 20 and 25. My hope is for all you to actually figure out what your body mass index is and strategies to get to that level. People say it's too hard, it's impossible. It is hard. It is possible. And to me is that we have lots of therapies for diabetes, but fixing the foundation to diabetes, one of the pillars in my mind is getting ourselves to a better weight for most of us. And for many of us, we haven't been at that weight for God knows when. And so basically, it's one thing to get the weight off, one thing to keep the weight off. So if everybody gets a chance, there's a great video on putting diabetes into remission on our website. I encourage everybody to look at it at some point in time. But we also know is that for the vast majority of us, doing it alone is just impossible or too hard. Now, it took me 62 years to get to a body mass index of under 25 right now. And the reason I got to this level was a number of factors. One, my youngest or my middle son, who hates exercises, actually lost 30, 40 pounds. And if he can do it, I can do it. And then I have all this team of people around me that have made it possible. Last night's webinar, the webinar on by the 3M's motion, motivation, and movement is something that everybody should take a look at who are stuck. There's pearls in it for everybody. But enjoy the journey. Don't be hard on yourself and set small and realistic goals. So my hope for everybody who's significantly overweight is to get to a body mass index somewhere between 20 to 25 and to maintain that for the rest of your life for as long as you can. Now, is that going to be realistic in everybody? No, but these are some of the things we need to think about. Look, the Toronto Maple Leafs are still trying to win the Stanley Cup. The Raptors won one World Championship, and they're keeping trying. So, and we're all enjoying the process of watching them make it or not make it. So, we're going to work together to improve your health. And it's not just about blood sugar, because we're designed to have a body mass index between 20 to 25. So we have less arthritis, less dementia, less hypertension, less cancer, less heart disease, less stroke, less atrial fibrillation, et cetera, et cetera. And now we learn that during the pandemic is infectious diseases go up. And so as we get older, after the age of 50 years of age, our immune system starts to fail us more and more. And being overweight makes our immune system work even less. So this is another way to think about this. So go ahead, guys. Go there, Adam. I'm sorry for interrupting, but this is such a key factor. So my hope for everybody is that you read lots of things, but this book is something I'm very proud of. And it's meant to be 30 days, 30,000 times for 30 years. Pearls will keep updating, keep adding things. But if I encourage everybody to just take a look at this. Now, the good thing about this book is that it's condensed into 270 pounds with some practical information, some science, but also all the money collected goes to helping others. So one of the things is that I encourage everybody to find a way to help yourself and others as well. So I better be quiet, Adam, because I'm just talking too much. Go ahead.
No, this is exactly it. So, like Dr. Curnew mentioned, not being hard on yourself, working on losing that weight, and it's a journey, which we'll talk about in just a sec as well. So on the next slide here, this is just a summary of what we discussed. So throughout the weekdays, we have our different clubs that are running. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so meditation and mindfulness. We also have the exercise club. Over the weekend, we have the cooking club as well. So we'll be picking one of those teams and we'll be joining them for the week, as well as the Saturday, like we mentioned, the first Saturday of every month, which we'll be summarizing what we discussed over the month, bring in some new information, just make it interactive and like a fun accountability thing a little bit. Right, so on the next slide here, just a quick thing. So like Dr. Curnew mentioned, the best date to start is yesterday, but since, you weren't able to start yesterday, then it's today. So it's the action, right? It's the journey. It's, we fail one day, we move on to the next one, and it's a long road.
Yeah, and we also want to just take a little bit of time here to talk a little bit about Dr. Curnew's book here, 30 Days to a Healthier You. And I think what's key here is just to realize that, the main message is that we're trying to just give, everybody some realistic and some feasible advice that they can incorporate in their lives to kind of lead a healthier lifestyle in a month or in 30 days. And I think the first step is trying to recognize, that there is no more like I'm too busy or I'll do it later and things like that. Those are like the common excuses that we give ourselves to kind of put things off. And I think that the first step of recognizing, how to get to the solution or how to lead a better lifestyle is to realize that, there is a way to lead a better lifestyle. And so that this book is really about just giving you that kind of those tidbits of information that we think are very important to help you achieve that healthier lifestyle. And so, what do we cover in this book, you might ask? So we start by talking about the fountain of youth. And What we really want to do here is kind of let you know that it's not too late to make a change, right? You can make a change at 60 or 70, or even after, or 50, and still lead another 10, 25 years, maybe more, years of quality life. And we want you to kind of take control of your health. And so after we talk about that, we also talk about things like just what to bring to your appointments and how to prepare for those. So that would be things like, having a health binder, which we'll talk about later, and things like that. And really the key part of this book is what we do after, where we kind of talk about the 3 phases of healthy eating. So the 3 phases that we kind of go over are: 1, induction, which is just your intro. We start with like a tea cleanse. Then we talk about kind of calorie counting and what calories are and how they affect your eating habits. And then we talk about soup. And then in phase 2, we talk about nature's bounty. So we talk about fruits. We talk about cereal. We have a cereal day, I think. We have a tomatoes day, a fish day. And then we have your no calorie limit day. And we talk about legumes and diets like that. And then the last phase is just, stretching. It's a home stretch. So you consolidate all that information. And then we also give you some healthy recipes and things like that in this book. And the reason we've kind of made this book, and Dr. Curnew, you can jump in here, is to kind of help translate all of this clinical data, all of this scientific medical jargon language, and give it to you in a way that's A, understandable, and B, actionable.
Yeah, and also too, I want to just say is this is the work of hundreds of people to make this happen. And it probably took me 30 years to actually write the book too. So, and it's been a lifelong project. And I hope you read this multiple times. I hope you use this as one of your go-to informations to work with other doctors, healthcare providers, knowing if you're on the right medications. And the emphasis is basically on lifestyle changes. And like you said, the best time to start was yesterday, but today is a great day to start. And then we're going to have some ups and downs in all this, and just to move forward. Right now my weight's okay, but next year it's going to struggle, and I'll get myself back on track. And we'll give you people to help you if you want to. So, and what I see over here, I see Karen and her husband there together. I love this idea of having people working together. So let's move this forward. Thank you for sharing that. But try these different things and try it often, and look at the forms. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is make things actionable. Set yourself a time limit for the next 30 days. For instance, one thing I'm going to encourage everybody is for the next 30 days, spend 5 minutes looking at something related to health before you go to bed. You can use our stuff, somebody else has, but spend at least 5 minutes every night. Or every morning, just 5 minutes every day, doing something, learning something new about your health. And if you want to use our information, our webinar is fantastic. And the only bad question is a question you don't ask. So far away.
Okay. Did you want us to talk?
Sure. Do you have any
Okay.
questions at all? Sure.
Well, I'll just give you an idea of where I'm at, and Jim can tell you where he's at, but I am a sugarholic, have been for all my life. I love candy, anything sweet. And I'm also a nighttime eater. So I graze after supper. And we've recognized that the trigger is TV. When we watch TV, something in our brain tells us we have to eat. And so we have to learn how to break that. I'm limited to physical activity because I have MS and I have weak legs. So that's me in a nutshell. Jim can tell you what his issues are.
Mine's the same, basically. I find that when I start off in the morning, I start off with what you said, like have a plan ahead. and I try to eat responsibly. But I find my biggest weakness is at supper time or after.
Yeah.
If I don't eat much for the day, like if I have maybe 300 calories for breakfast, 300 calories for lunch, I tend to overeat on my supper, and then snack after that sometimes, which is I find it hard. But I know that you were talking about, like, you have to reduce calories to lose weight, and it worked. I did it last year with you, and it worked. It did work. And that's right. This year, this past spring. But it did work. If you get onto a plan and stick with it, weight does come up, and it's amazing.
We kind of lost our way when our brother-in-law passed away, and we had two sort of big family upheavals in a row, and we just fell off the wagon. We were doing great on the 1,200 calories a day. Actually, there were days we had leftover calories, and we were doing really good. We lost weight, but it's all come back. It's like your body remembers what that weight was.
Perfect.
And wants to get back there.
So first of all, I love the fact that you're here, you're working at it. First step is to show up and to be there. And so to me is how many different times you try, and then quality of the trying. So we're going to work together. So I want you to think about, we're going to come back to the end of the presentation, is that if you guys can set some SMART goals for yourself, I can give you lots of suggestions. The question is what suggestions will work today and what we can add together right now. So step one, you identified a problem at nighttime. Is that so interesting right now is that we're going through renovations at our house right now. And we have the no kitchen diet right now because we don't have a kitchen right now. We don't have a fridge right now. I'm a nighttime eater. I'm a snacker, but there's no food in the house. So change your environment. So I'm not saying you should do this, but maybe you should put the TV outside. You can come move at our house for a while. And I guarantee you can't snack at nighttime because you're going to bring in a certain amount of food and things of that nature as well. So we're going to work on all aspects of that right now. So, so my advice is, so be conscious. So I'd say every night before you turn on the TV is start off with 5 minutes, a plan of action, read something healthy. And I'm not sure if you want to try not use the TV for the next 30 days or something at nighttime. I'm not saying, and make sure there's no, or before you have your sugar fix, I have a sugar fix, start off with maybe an apple, and then pause and go and do something for 15 minutes. And then, so just keep building on something. So we'll come back. So just think of some ideas there. And let's hear some more. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
Wonderful. Yeah. And this information, I think we've kind of touched upon in our entire presentation here, but the key takeaways from this book, and the key takeaways that we want you to have from today are to, learn something new every day, lead a healthier lifestyle by, combining all these things that you're learning and by making some changes in your life, finding a great support system. And so this is the mentality that two heads are better than one. Having someone else's mind to not just give you that extra kind of advice and things like that, but also to give you that accountability and that motivation, that external motivation can go a long way. And then shifting your mindset. So we just talked about external motivation. The shifting your mindset will give you that internal motivation that you also need to kind of spearhead this challenge and this journey, and to make sure that you kind of stay on it. And if you fall off, you fall off. And the next step is to recognize that you've fallen off and to get back on it. Because as we said before, the best day to start was yesterday. But if you can't start yesterday, then you try to start today. Don't try to set up, it's the holidays are coming, I might just start in January or things like that. Because what you might notice is, especially if you go to the gym all the time, you'll notice, hundreds of more people coming to the gym on January 1st, but that 100 will turn into 50 on January 7th, and that 50 will turn in back to 25 on January 14th. And soon you'll know that it'll just be the same people that were going to the gym beforehand that have kept their habit. Because one thing we've learned is habits don't develop overnight. Does anybody know how long it actually takes, approximately what the research shows, for habits to develop?
I think it's 30 days or something.
A little bit more. It's 2 months actually, just a bit over 2 months. So we would expect, habits to form quite easily, but it takes a while. And so we want to make sure that we kind of stick to it. We keep on going at it for us to get better. And they actually did a research study out of Harvard where they looked at, what is the thing that helps people live longer, or what is the number one thing that helps people live longer? Does anybody know what they found, or does anybody know what I'm talking about here?
Quality relationships.
Exactly. Yep. It's the quality of your relationships with others that is the number one. That's the number one thing that you can have, and that is finding that great support system. Because at the end of the day, the support system is what you lean on, and that's the thing that will help you propel forward. And so that's why we don't want you to just, find your support system, but, after you start kind of taking these things away and leading your healthier lifestyle, we want you to inspire others to join your journey, and for them to use you as a support system, but for you to also use them as a support system. And so that's what we kind of have as our goals. And on the side here, you might see this word here, SMART. And what does that mean? And kind of what we're referring to with this is a type of goal setting. But I think I'll let Adam talk about this near the end of our presentation. He'll come back to this theory, and we'll kind of, spend a little bit of time creating everybody's goals and helping everyone realize what goals they should be taking, and things like that.
So in our book, 30 Days to Healthier You, the last section is on forms. So if page 264 is a SMART goal sheet, make lots of copies if you want to have that available from time to time. And one of the things you mentioned is that, who should be part of your entourage. And so some people just make it harder for you to be healthier. And so surround yourself with the environment to be healthier. So, if unfortunately, if there's people around you that make you unhealthy, what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to accept it, or are you going to try to improve on that? So things to think about. By being around healthier people, you get healthier. By people who say they can't do it, drive you down, and things of that nature as well. So figure that out. Change the people around you that make you more successful.
Exactly. And part of that is also just tracking your health. And so here we've got kind of general things that you can do to track your health, which is just having a list of medications on you, tracking your weight, either day to day, week to week, whatever works best for you, making sure your blood pressure is in check, trying to, log your exercise, your diet, looking at your, blood sugar value, your blood work values, and trying to realize that, that these numbers here, you can kind of make sense of them too, to an extent. And Adam and I did a pretty nice video on especially the blood sugar values on your blood work related to diabetes themselves. And we encourage that you check it out. And we'll be able to send a link to anybody that wants it through our email as well.
What videos should people look at to find that, Nurme?
Yeah, so it's a video with Adam and I, and I think it's on the YouTube channel, and I think it's called just called Diabetes Sugar Values, What to Look For. I can try to find it and let people know about it.
I'll put it in the Zoom chat here.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm going to encourage you is to, we have well over 200 videos, and we're going to actually send different, and so people can just go and take a look at them, and you can put diabetes, you can put the search bar, that little hourglass there, and maybe we can actually show people maybe at the end how to use that a little bit if we can.
Yeah.
If not, we'll spend some time, and we'll do that next time or whatever. And so I can just see that the link came up there, and don't be afraid to ask any of our volunteers who call you up what you should be looking at. Absolutely.
Okay.
And especially with the blood sugar logs, with this being a more sugar hour and diabetes club, we want to make sure that, people are taking their values, their measurements, and just making sure that they can kind of track changes, and see, oh, okay, before lunch it was this week, but then this week when I did it after lunch, it kind of spikes this much, and things like that. To have a lot of data points for yourself, because at the end of the day, the person that understands health the best, or your health the best, is going to be you, right? You're going to know how your body acts with X, Y, and Z, and you kind of want to be a steward of your own health, and you want to be the person to kind of guide your health journey instead of letting other people guide it. And so we want you to track your health to have kind of the best information possible for you to make the best decisions for yourself.
Now, how would I get a blood tester? Like, how do I go about doing that?
Okay, good question.
Like, I'm not a diabetic, but I'm pre-diabetic. I'm almost there.
Mhm.
So
I'd like to track.
Sure. So one of the things is that if there's a couple of things you can do. One is that the best definition of type 2 diabetes, if you have reasonable kidney function, your hemoglobin is relatively normal. It's called the glycosylated hemoglobin. So that gives you a reflection of blood sugars over the last 3 months or thereabouts. And ideal values are less than 5.5%. And above 6.5 is a definition of diabetes.
Is this the A1C?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so we use that quite a bit.
Okay.
And then now blood sugar tracking, it's more of an individual decision. We'll come back to that in a second here. You can get a glucometer. Roughly, glucometers are basically free. They'll give them away. But each blood sugar strip is roughly $1. And depending on your level, for instance, it will not be covered for you, Karen, because you don't have type 2 diabetes. So the government will not pay for that.
Right.
But saying that doesn't stop you from measuring it. And we can show you, and there's so many different devices. And we have Bo and others who like the Contour machine. But to be honest with you, any blood sugar machine works. The pharmacist can help you with that. We can actually send a prescription for some people who need to. May or not be covered depending on your insurance policy. But I think knowledge is power in measuring. There's also things like the Libre device. We can actually continuous blood sugar monitoring. So we certainly have a good video on that. We'll put in the link there is that how to monitor your blood sugar. And we'll talk about that as well. So let's hear more. So answer absolutely. Go ahead. Just show us how we can monitor blood sugar a little bit. How we do that.
Yeah, sure. I can kind of.
Let's pause first. Okay. So is that to me the most important thing is go talk about this trial. Instead of monitoring your blood sugar, I got a better idea for most of us. Go ahead. Tell us a little about that about Nurme.
For sure. So you might be wondering, why we've kind of not really focused on the sugars, or why we haven't just told everybody to cut eating chocolates and you'll be cured or something like that. And the reason why we've kind of talked about this holistic approach is because of this one trial that came out of England. What they found, and this is probably the most important trial, it's called the DIRECT trial. What they found is weight loss was the number one kind of way to kind of put your diabetes into remission, or to basically, in a sense, kind of not exactly cure your diabetes, but to make it so that your diabetes is not really an issue anymore. And what they found is they put these people on a diet, and they put these people on exercise plans, and they found that those who lost more than 15 kilos, which is roughly 33 pounds, which is kind of our 30 pounds in 30 weeks goal, 86% of those people were actually able to put their diabetes into remission. And then you can see that the numbers kind of go off a little bit. So here we have 10 to 15 kilograms, which is 22 to 30 pounds. That was 57%, 5 to 10 kilos, 33%, and less than 5 kilos, 7%. But what we want to see here is, there's a direct correlation here between losing weight, so the more weight you lose, and the higher percent of individuals that were able to go into remission. And this is kind of what we've kind of based our philosophy over, is to lose that weight and put your diabetes into remission.
So Karen, you asked a good question. You can measure your blood sugar, but I would think for most people, I would invest on a good scale. and measure your weight every day. Now, some people find that weighing their weight too often is depressing to them, and it makes them feel they want different periods of time. I measure my weight almost every day because I use it as a tool to help motivate myself to keep track of things. Now, and the direct trial was a randomized controlled trial that really put a lot of support, and so people didn't do it by themselves. They met almost every week, every second week, then every month. They just met a lot. It's like a hockey team. People go to practice on a regular basis. And they use plant-based eating. And in research, the highest quality information is called the randomized controlled trial, where is that you don't choose your therapy, but it's given to you and it's selected by the computer. And we also had a second trial, and it's called the broad trial that showed that as well. And so these things are really, really important over here. So my priority for many of us who have a weight issue is to get that weight down. And these were type 2 diabetes. You notice people say you can cure diabetes. I don't think you can cure diabetes. I think you can actually treat diabetes. And for most of us, when we develop type 2 diabetes, that means half the cells that produce insulin in our pancreas, unfortunately, have passed away. Now, more information saying is that we can make the remaining cells work better, and we may be able to actually get some of those cells back. But let's see, what do you have to show us here? Well, look at there's that good-looking guy called Adam there. What's happening there, Adam? Or near me?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit loud here. So I'm just saying, yeah, so this is the video Nurmi was talking about earlier. In this video, it's really short, it's 5 minutes or so, but we talk about the different values. What is eGFR for kidneys, HbA1c, what's the difference between that and the glucose random test that the pricking finger test. So it's really interesting, and I really recommend everyone to take a look at it. We go into more detail, and in the future, if you want to discuss it with us or anything, then feel free to do so, and we'd love to chat about it.
Yeah, exactly. And we also just quickly go over, the glucose testing and things like that. And this is a nice tidbit of information that we recommend you watch. And if anybody has any trouble trying to find this or trying to find their entire diabetes playlist, we can send that to you. And it has all the videos that we've kind of created in the past.
And kind of interesting too, there's the ability to actually continuous blood sugar monitoring. You can do it for a period of a couple of weeks. Relatively expensive, but I've done that from time to time. And if people want to try that for a period of time, we can talk about that in the future too as well. So we have two good randomized controlled trials saying that, and remember, between kilograms and pounds is you take kilograms multiplied by 2, and that gives you roughly pounds. So that's a good way of thinking of that. Great questions. Any other questions? I know some people are on their phones coming in. That's fantastic. And feel free to unmute yourself, ask any questions that you have. Those who want to share their faces is fine. Those who ever want to show their faces, that's fine too. We just love to chat with you and share information. Go ahead. What's that? Frequently asked questions. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect.
What's the next part we're talking about?
All righty. So here we have just a few questions that we kind of get at the clinic. And Hannah, if you want to take over, feel free to. If not, I can definitely go ahead with this section as well.
Yeah, I can take it from here. So from here, we're gonna try to answer some of the questions that we got at the clinic and some of the questions that you might have personally. So the first one.
Why don't you introduce yourself to the whole team over here?
Oh, of course. Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Hannah, and I'm a volunteer at the clinic, and I will be trying to answer your questions in today's webinar.
Okay.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. Anyway, back to the slides. So the first question is whether diabetes is associated with cancer. So unfortunately, yes, diabetes type 2 specifically is associated with some types of cancer, like liver, pancreas, endometrium, that's the uterus, and colon, rectum, breast, and bladder. And this is due to shared risk factors, like these are the things that we already know: obesity, diet, physical inactivity, and also aging. But I guess on the bright side is that diets, physical activity, weight management can help reduce risk and improve outcomes of type 2 diabetes and some forms of cancer. So as we have just talked about, weight management can put your type 2 diabetes into remission. So on top of that, we can reduce risk of getting cancer. So again, back to the importance of diet and weight management. And if we can go to the next slide, Jeremy. Yes. So another question is if hormones affect our blood sugar levels. And yes, some hormones are involved in our blood sugar level regulation. So some of the big hormones that increase our blood sugar, so they work against insulin. So these include stress hormones like cortisol and progesterone, which is a sex hormone. And other sex hormones that are involved in decreasing our blood sugar levels are estrogen and testosterone, most notably. So sex hormones naturally decrease as we age. So you might notice some fluctuations or changes in your blood sugar levels as you age, or if you are a woman going through menopause, or if you are in your pregnancy, then you might also notice some changes. And also, if on your menopausal cycle, you might also notice some changes. And these changes are usually not that significant, and they're not meant to pose a great threat to non-diabetic individuals. But since diabetic individuals are very sensitive to small changes in blood sugar levels, hormones might be something that you should be looking out for if this applies to you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
My husband has MEN1, right?
Yep.
And so we know that that is an illness that affects anywhere where hormones are produced. And so would this be something for Jim? Like, would this be difficult for Jim then to get his A1C down because of this?
So a couple of things.
I know it's
MEN1 is multiple endocrine neuropathy. I'm sorry, it's a
neoplasia, I think.
yes, it's a
Multiple endocrine
process where you have
planasia.
hormone misproduction.
Right.
Very, very specialized, quite rare.
Right.
And the thing to think about is that we spent a lot of time trying to give hormones, take away hormones for health. And Mother Nature has worked extremely well. And when we start to manipulate, we'll be careful. So we know that the hormones after the menopause will certainly have dramatic benefit from decreasing menopausal complaints, but they increase the risk of blood clots, heart attacks, strokes, breast cancer, and other types of cancers. It protects the bones. When it comes to testosterone, is that as it was pointed out, it actually decreases as we get older. And what should be your testosterone level as we get older is a very controversial area. So a lot more research needs to be done in this area, but what I'm trying to do is do things as naturally as much as I can. I've never been a big hormone replacement person at this stage. We're learning more about that. There's concern that, for instance, testosterone may increase the risk of having a heart attack. It also may increase the risk of, something does increase the risk of prostate cancer, brings up your hemoglobin, so it can thicken blood, etc. So that's a very much individual decision. So that would be a separate conversation. For the average person is that hormones do decrease as we get older. And so you have to work harder to keep that weight down. And but certainly not possible, or not impossible. It's very, very doable. So we'll have a separate conversation about that, about your husband's case. It is harder, but it's very doable.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for answering the question, Dr. Curnew. And moving on to the third question is that how much are the diabetes medications? So these prices are from the Ontario Research, and these prices are also per day, per person. So the biggest medication, insulin, ranges from $2 to $5 per day, depending on the type of insulin and the manufacturer. And also hormone analogs meaning drugs that are similar to hormones like insulin or glucagon, and they range from $3 to $5 again. And other medications related to diabetes, they include drugs that are prescribed by doctors to people who have other comorbidities like cardiovascular disease or other types of diseases. So they range anywhere from under $1 to up to $3. So there are programs, public health programs in Ontario to help you manage these financial aspects of diabetes, and they include Ontario Drug Benefit Plan, OHIP, Trillium Drug Program, and Assistive Devices Program. So if you are over the age of 65, you are eligible for Ontario Drug Benefit Plan and also Assistive Devices Plan Program. So if you are interested, you should check these programs out because they are there to help you manage these all the financial commitments that come with diabetes.
So it's always fair to always discuss price, because you can be on an old-fashioned metformin or sulfonylureas can cost basically pennies a day. Right now there's older insulins and newer insulins, and you can see the price range. One of the key medications right now is a company called SGL2 receptor antagonists. These are categories of medications that help protect the kidney, decrease end-stage renal disease by about 40%, congestive heart failure by 30%. They're known as things like Forxiga, Synjardians, Invokana. These are brand new medications. Because they're new, they're more expensive. They cost about $3 a day. One of my favorite drugs, or my favorite drug for weight reduction, is basically called Ozempic. There's a pill form, there's an injection form. If you use it the standard way, it would cost basically about $250 a month, but I can make that a lot less expensive, and to about a quarter of that for some people. And right now is that I think it's probably the most important drug we have right now for weight reduction, with or without diabetes. And our next section, we're going to dedicate just to Ozempic in general, and where that fits into you, because it is a key drug for weight reduction. It has usage, so don't be afraid to always discuss cost to people, and we can actually find hopefully the right combination for you at the right cost, so to speak. But we are spending billions of dollars on diabetes medications around the world. And if I remember that trial called the DIRECT trial that Nurme shows, that 75% of people who lose 30 pounds that keep it off at 2 years can put their diabetes into remission. So I think that's a better idea, is to try work hard in that direction. For those who are struggling with their weight, which is including myself. My wife just walked through the door. She just got back from the gym. She brought me a coffee, and basically I put a little bit of oat milk in it, and I don't put any artificial sweeteners anymore. I'd rather have an artificial sweetener or whatever. And we'll talk about liquid calories. So the best beverage is still water. What is the best juice? Is no juice. It's all sugared water. So fire away. Thank you for sharing that. Next slide, please.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I guess on that point, when should we measure blood sugar? That's a very common question. And generally speaking, the common times are usually when you first wake up in the morning, or you also have at bedtime. That's also an option as well. And there's also an option. So there's something called the glucose random, which we talk about in the video. So 2 hours after a meal. So let's just say you want to figure out, okay, if I eat this, how much is that going to affect my blood sugar? So you take it after 2 hours after the meal or whatever you were eating, and just sort of see how much it goes up. And the key thing here is to experiment as much as possible and to really see where your body likes to be, to see what the different effects are of foods, to see how much exercise is affecting you, just these things, and really experiment and get to know your body. And that's really the key here. That's what we're trying to empower you to do. And here, I guess I'll open it to Dr. Curnew if you have any extra thoughts here.
No, just show, I think your next slide shows us a kind of few things there. Get the next
Okay,
slide, please. Just this is basically is just monitoring your blood sugar, different days, different times. We try to get the fasting blood sugar down, or the 2 hour after a meal. You want to just do it at different times, not always at the same time. And of course, if you think your blood sugar is low, what should you do? Measure your blood sugar. If you think your blood sugar is high, measure your blood sugar. Don't guess. So I think this is a nice sheet from Diabetes Canada, which is a wonderful website. If you just put in Google Diabetes Canada, you can come up with a whole bunch of pearls of information. So
I just put the link in the Zoom chat. So if you guys just click the link, it'll take you to the questionnaire. You know, what type of diabetes do you have? It just goes to the questions over here, and then it'll give you the little pattern to help guide you a little bit. And of course, we'll be sending all these links to you guys on email. So I know it's hard to keep track of. We'll link everything in little descriptions as well.
Thank you.
and we'll be able to give you an individual program too as well. You take a look, but yet that's why. So my ask for everybody is spend 5 minutes every day thinking about how to be healthier. Look at some of these things, and I hope the next week it will be 10 minutes. And I spend about probably 1 to 2 hours every day reading about something health related. I've been doing that for the last 50 years. And I wish I can take my hard drive and put it into your hard drive. It would probably be a mess. So we'll give you bottom lines. And that's why people say is that give me the Coles version. Health is not simple. And you're not a simple person. If it was a simple person, we'd all be at a body mass index of 2025. We'd all be perfect. But we're human, and we learn, and we measure. What I'm going to take a with is right now is that my SMART goal is every night. One of the things I learned through our video websites is that better sleep. So I really like that sleep. You have better sleep. So right now I'm emphasizing about reading before going to bed. And I usually fall asleep reading something health related. Health puts me to sleep. If you have a sleeping problem, look at some of our videos. I guarantee I can put anybody to sleep after a while, and you'll have better sleep and not sleeping pills. So, but please spend the time to an action phase. Next slide, please.
Right before you go to bed.
Blood pressure. Why should we measure blood pressure?
Dr. I think we had a question there.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Would you be able to repeat that? I think it was a bit far. We weren't able to hear you very well.
Was there a question there? Did we miss?
Yeah, I think someone was able to speak up. But we'll get to that, I guess, again, if they're able to let us know. Yeah, cool. So blood pressure, right? I always get asked, do I have to measure blood pressure? The answer is yes. And taking it, the day of the appointment or 2 seconds before is pretty stressful, especially when you went up the stairs or something to come into the clinic. So it's not really accurate. We want to take it over a long period of time, let's say every day or twice a day. And why it's important is that, high blood pressure is twice as likely to affect, strike a person with diabetes than non-diabetes. And blood pressure is known as a known risk factor to heart attack, stroke, all these different, I guess all these different complications. And we really want to know where your blood pressure likes to be, if it goes down, if it goes up. And the other thing is, you can't just say, for example, my blood pressure is normal. Blood pressure fluctuates a lot every day. And depending on what you do, let's say you ate a specific meal, drank coffee, your blood pressure is going to go up. So all these things we want to really make sure of and measure blood pressure often and frequently. So we have a better idea. When you come to the doctor's office, you have something to look at. We have sort of a spreadsheet of some sort. And just on that point, I remember I spoke to someone a while back who said, they never used to bring their medications to the clinic or wherever they went to the doctor's office. They never brought their blood pressure with them. They never brought anything. And one day somebody asked them like, hey, why do you not do that? And they said, that's a good question. I never really thought about that. Bringing all your stuff with it, coming to the doctor's office with a purpose, coming say, my blood pressure is 140/90, for example, most days. Is there something we could do about that? Do we need to do something about that? So asking all these questions and really just knowing is really important.
Well, that's wonderful. So, you just backtrack one slide there. If you can actually, Adam or Nirmay, just show us some of the videos we have on hypertension. 90% of us, or 89% of us in Canada, will develop high blood pressure over a lifetime. And it's the burden of blood pressure over a lifetime that's really most important. And so the best accurate blood pressure is a blood pressure that's done at home. So my recommendation is that your blood pressure will fluctuate. One day will be 200, one day will be 180, 170. And so you should measure a series of 3 blood pressure readings. And here we can see is that they're going through our Dr. Greg on YouTube, Dr. Greg Curnew, and we can see we have multiple playlists, and we have so many ways to lower blood pressure. And these are some of the videos we have over here. So let's take a look at that. One of the trials called the DASH trial, that dietary approach stopping hypertension. You can lower blood pressure in part with lifestyle changes. There's a nice video number 2 there, is that it's a 13-minute blood pressure, have a blood pressure machine. What is hypertension? There's so many things to look at. So please take the time to explore that. And my wish is everybody have a scale and everybody have a blood pressure machine and use the blood pressure machine often and regularly. So that's kind of important here. So, and you can see is that we have a lot of good information for you to look at. Please take the time to digest that. Anything else you want to say about that at all? I think is that the best blood pressure between 110 to 120. Blood pressure machines are imperfect. You get extra heartbeats. So your blood pressure might show up on the machine as 90. It may not be accurate. It's going to make mistakes. So it's the average blood pressure. So it's important. Same thing with cholesterol. It's the average cholesterol over a lifetime that's important. So starting treatment earlier is always better. Let's go to diet. Is that now this is something that people should pause and look at every year. And the foods that you should be eating is the green foods. And tell us a little bit about the about this slide here.
Yeah, like Dr. Curnew mentioned, the green stuff always, green looks good, right? This is a chart about the GI index, also called the glycemic index. It just ranks foods or drinks on how much they're going to raise your blood pressure after eating them. So as you see here, lower than 55 is pretty good. Whereas, medium is like breads, cereals, grains. We also have the highs. So just knowing where certain foods are. And that's not to say, for example, don't eat the high glycemic index. That's just to say that, going back to our previous point where you should be measuring your blood sugar often, is that when you eat something, take your blood pressure 2 hours after. If you find that it's really spiking up your blood sugar, or for example, you're feeling really tired right after, then that tells you an indication that, hey, maybe I should, slow down on eating these red foods, let's say. Whereas the green foods are more healthy. We encourage you to be adding them a little bit more to your diet. So that includes, vegetables or fruits or different things that are on here, and just being careful. So it's just more of a guide, if anything.
Could you tell me, do you know how to do a screenshot of this? I'd like to do a screenshot of the chart.
Sure.
On my laptop. Do you know the keys I have to use for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you might see like on the top right, you might see PRTSC.
Yeah.
Or you might see if you click PRTSC, that should take a picture of everything on your screen right now. And then if you want to ever go back to that image, you just have to click paste.
Got it.
Or so right click and then paste. Okay,
Yep.
It
perfect.
worked, thank you. It worked,
No
thank you.
problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And what we recommend you do is, even when you start like right at the beginning. So when you go grocery shopping, have a printout of this out, and kind of when you're picking the foods you to take back home, you can just start at that step. So it's not even like picking what should I eat from my fridge. It's picking what should I eat from the grocery store. And we start, we recommend you pick those things in the green section over the things in the yellow, over the things in the red.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things I used to eat is, is cream of wheat. Cream of wheat is cream of blood sugars. So it's in the red box over here. Cornflakes is not a good cereal. All bran is not a great cereal. Bread is a processed food. All the bread, basically avoid anything that's white sugar, white flour, avoid liquid calories. And one of the things is that where should your protein come from? Best protein comes from legumes, so beans and nuts, but in moderation. So one of the things is you can see on your far right is that my favorite, that's why I'm eating a lot of soups and non-cream based soups. So tomato based soups, I get a lot of, I dilute all the soup with either water. I put broths in there, the low sodium broths in there to just to get that. And our book starts off with a fast or a tea fast. So one of the things I'm encouraging you is to think about avoiding all liquid calories. Start off every meal with 2 glasses of water. And I'm trying to really add, half your plate should be fruits and vegetables, and have a big salad without the dressing. So my dressing is balsamic vinegar. I don't put any oils in there. Avoid the liquid oils. Avoid the processed foods here. So this is a wonderful list. I think Karen, you're a nighttime eater. So look at the foods that. So if you're going to nighttime eat, one suggestion for you is take everything in green as much as you can, and make sure half your plate's fruits and vegetables, and try to avoid processed food as much as you can. So one of the things right now is that you can go to Harvey's, A&W, get these plant-based burgers. These plant-based burgers are just as unhealthy as the regular hamburgers, because they're all processed, unfortunately, foods. So I'm now using my favorite plant-based burger right now. If I go somewhere, I go to Harvey's whole wheat bun. I just put all the vegetables on it. I don't put the dressings on it, and that's a treat. Instead of the French fries, I'll have salad without the dressing. I'll steal one of my kids' fries or two and have a couple instead of a whole package of them. And so there's just better ways of doing things. And I see Bob's joined us and other people as well. So thanks for joining us. And any questions from anybody about this area? This is what your diet, unfortunately, should look like. And it's going to be a transition. And it doesn't have to be boring. And one of the things is that Aditi is a phenomenally good cook. And we usually have it the first or second Sunday of every month from 4 to 6. We have plant-based eating, and we cook for a couple hours on Zoom together. So everybody's invited to it. We'll put that, I think the next one, if I remember correctly, is November the 14th. It's coming up from 4 to 6. Those who want it, come join us. We're going to be cooking healthy snacks, and encourage you to do that. And so wonderful slide here. Can't always do it, but getting better.
Okay.
It's Barry Crombie speaking. I have a question.
Great.
I have Crohn's.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, I have a very difficult time digesting leafy green vegetables or nuts.
So Crohn's is a disease where your bowel's not working. It's full of inflammation. In that circumstance, these diets have to be modified to yourself. In your case, you should actually speak to a dietitian, a registered dietitian who has expertise in Crohn's disease, how to pick out the healthiest diet for you. So that's going to be a different challenge. It doesn't mean so I don't have any specific recommendations for you right now. What I would do you like soup, for instance? What I'm doing is more tomato-based soups, and with probably a little bit less roughage for you might be a helpful thing. I would also avoid all the processed foods and all the white sugars, white flours, and all those heavy calories. So that's something you're going to have to work with an individual registered dietitian about that, and we can help you with that offline about that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything that you find that you can eat then in this list that doesn't look so bad?
Well, I use sweet potatoes in lieu of white potatoes, and whole wheat bread, and the normal things. But a lot of the things in your book indicate leafy greens and beans and nuts, and unfortunately, they have a very bad reaction with me.
Sure. So in your case, you're one of those have different challenges. So I'll remind for the average North American is that we're taking all these supplements and vitamins, billions of dollars that are being poured down, and we have very expensive urine in North America. So vitamins at this point in multivitamins have not shown to be protective. In fact, if anything, there's some recent data that suggests that multivitamins actually feed cancer and help cancer grow. So I'm not a fan of multivitamins for most of us, unless you have certain nutritional deficiencies. Is that I prefer getting my food naturally, and fruits and vegetables and fiber foods are very rich in micronutrients that are good antioxidants that are cardiovascular protective and cancer protective. But the supplements, again, supplements are all processed, and most of the time they do more harm than good. So in your case, you'll have to have an individual discussion about that there. I see Paul just joined us right now. Paul is actually in medical school. He's one of the guys that actually sort of got us started on these webinars. So Paul, maybe we'll say a couple words about his journey to be healthier. He's lost a lot of weight, and he got me started on these webinars. I want to say a special thanks to Paul over there, and we're taking on, have to do so. Paul, what's your comments about how to get healthier?
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. It's been some time since I was last in a webinar as well. First and foremost, I think it's worth giving yourself the credit for coming out to these webinars. Losing weight is probably the hardest thing anyone can do. And, it's not always a smooth sailing or a smooth drive as well. So there's some ups and downs. But yeah, without a doubt, it's very, very important to make sure that you're watching what you eat. Usually when we refer to weight loss, the typical recommendation is 70% of the weight loss will come from the diet and 30% might be from exercise, is one easy way to think of it, or a rule of thumb. So yeah, my personal struggles and successes a lot of the time have to do with snacking. So I'm a stress eater. When I'm stressed, I tend to binge and snack a lot. So one way that I tried to circumvent that was to have healthy snacks prepared. So in the fridge, I'll have containers of fruits and vegetables already cut and some healthy hummus, whether it's homemade or healthy bought from the store. And if I ever feel the need to snack, I have snacks ready to go right at the front of the fridge. And, I think weight loss is a combination of knowing your own patterns and knowing what foods are healthy and unhealthy as well, or good for you and not too good for you. So, it's not a one size fits all approach. Everyone needs to take individualized approach with their own patterns, but hopefully these talks and webinars by Dr. Curnew can at least provide some insight on some tips and healthier habits that you can pick up.
Thanks, Paul. What's our next slide there?
Yeah, thank you, Paul, and Dr. Curnew and everyone. So yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, our final slide for the frequently asked questions, but this is a small guide that goes back to our past, our slide. So basically this is a little diagram that's going to help you. So, half your plate should be vegetables, grains and starches, meat and or alternatives. So so that's your protein. So it could be lentils, like Dr. Curnew mentioned, or nuts. And also we encourage you to have fruit. Fruits are always nice, and just a little bit instead of like dessert, right? Fruits would be a nice little alternative to that.
So this is kind of interesting. You put the glycemic index in there, which is fantastic. It's something called the glycemic load as well. First of all, if you look at your plate, half your plate should be vegetables. The second would be whole wheat starches, and I'm eating more quinoa in my diet. And for my meat alternatives, I'm eating a lot more beans. The best source of protein on the planet for health, environment, and your health is still beans. Second is nuts in moderation. So you can see that watermelon gets a bad rap. It basically breaks down into a high sugar load. But the problem is that the good thing is most of watermelon is water. So it turns out is that watermelon is a healthy food. notice that you put apricots in there as a green food. Well, basically it's rich in calories. So dried fruits are basically are sugar. So I try to avoid that. I like the water content of food. So so to me is that one of the foods that I'm trying to eat more is that right now we're in Ontario, we're apple season still. So I go apple picking every once in a while. And I pick a big bag of apples and put them in the fridge. And if you keep them in the fridge, they'll last longer. So so you can also measure how your blood sugar responds if you're diabetic, and you can see like Karen's or others, and you know, if you'll see how your body responds to the foods that you remember. It's a composition of total foods that's important as well. So if you have more fiber in your food, your sugar will get absorbed much slower. Next slide, please. And so trivia and summary. Tell me a little about the trivia and summary.
Yeah, so the trivia is actually going to be mailed to everyone. It's a little homework to do, but it'll have some more information where to find the answers to something you may get right or wrong. Like earlier, we talked about the lab values being one of them. So that's gonna be a neat little thing to help you consolidate some of the information we talk about. So SMART goals, that's something Norma alluded to earlier. We're just gonna touch on that before we conclude. Essentially, you know, just making things specific, right? So instead of saying, oh, I'm gonna measure blood sugar, well, when, for example, right? So this is sort of the T part, which is the time bound. When are you gonna measure it? So I'm gonna measure every day, for example. Being measurable, so recording it, right? This is where the sugar log comes in, telling yourself I'm gonna measure it, and it's sort of accountability a little bit. And the attainable, right? Telling yourself, oh, I'm not going to measure like 10 times a day, right? Or I'm going to measure while I'm outside. If you feel like this might be a little bit of a barrier, just make sure it's attainable and realistic, as well as relevant, right? So picking goals that are relevant, again, going back to sugar, to your blood sugar, that's something specific where you could tell yourself, okay, this is relevant to me, to my body. For example, I'm gonna take it after a meal. So that way it's more relevant to what you're doing. And you know that the time bound piece, which is a little bit more specific, which we touched on a little bit earlier, telling yourself specifically when I'm going to take it, as well as telling yourself a timeline. So I'm gonna start measuring, for example, 2 to 3 times a week if I feel like it's very hard for me. 2 to 3 times a week, and then after a week or two, finding yourself being on track, then maybe increasing the amount of time. And SMART goals can apply to everything and anything. And again, we're going to send out a Google form after through email where you could fill in a little SMART goal, and we could chat about it with you guys, and hopefully, you know, get started on a little program here.
Yeah, and if anybody has a goal that they have in mind, we can definitely work on that as well here even. So I'll put it to everybody here. Does anybody have something that they want to work on?
Well, if you just backtrack that slide there, I'm going to tell you what my SMART goals are for today. So I'm going to do some tangible things for today. This Thursday was my daughter's 19th birthday, and so I tried to finish early. I was late like always, but we went and visited her at Brock University. She's studying nursing. So today is, my son's here from Ottawa. He came up, and we're going to spend the day with the family today. And family time's important. What I'm going to do is that Adam and I often go walking those stairs, and I've been not always as diligent. So Adam, so Mondays and Fridays for this rest of this month, and for December is that I'm going to be there at 6 o'clock every Monday and Friday morning. At the Shadok stairs, or we'll maybe do the Wentworth stairs a little bit. And so so I'm going to work on that. And if I don't do those 2 days because the weather's bad, whatever, I'm going to replace it with 2 other days. I'm going to measure my blood pressure, my weight every day. I'm going to go to all the webinars. I'm going to work with the team, and right now we're working at how to develop some new forms and new formatting in our electronic medical record. And I'm going to be less hard on myself on the days that are not important. So right now I have my weight at 165 pounds. I've been at that weight 165, maybe this year, maybe 5 days out of this whole year so far. My goal is to try to be as many days at 165 pounds. And I know some days I'll be better than others. So one thing, Karen, that's helped me is the no kitchen diet. That was important. We're going through renovation, so we have no fridge right now. It's on back order. So the only foods that we can keep cold is out in the office fridge or basically out on the balcony right now. And so so that has some blessings there. And so I want people to think about, the next month or so, our next meeting coming up. I'm going to encourage anybody who wants to. I think it's November the 14th. We have our cooking healthy snacks. I encourage everybody who would like to join us, and we're going to give everybody a call who's been signed up today just to see. And then I think our next day is going to be in December. I think it's the first Saturday in December. We're gonna, and we have something called the Ozempic Nurse right now. So anybody who wants to try Ozempic, I will give you two samples of Ozempic. So that's basically about $500 worth of medications, and see if that kickstarts you to be helpful. Some people are taking it every day for the rest of their lives. Some people are just taking it once every 3 weeks or so. And there's different doses. We have a way of making that a lot less expensive. Whether or not you have coverage or not, I don't know. It's approved for diabetes, but we're using it off-label for weight reduction, and that certainly was being helpful to that. So, so those are some of the things I'm going to do myself, and I'm going to try to be less late. Notice I'm going to say less late. I don't think I can be on time, because I decided in my practice of medicine is to always put people in when they need to come in. One thing that delays us by about 2 hours every day is prescription renewal. So I urge everybody to look at their prescription bottles and to see when they're going to run out of pills. When they're down to their last refill, call the office and book an appointment. And whenever you have an appointment, make sure you know what medications that Dr. Curnew is responsible for, and find out it's still the right dose, right amount. And I'll give you a prescription that will last you a full year so you don't run out. So I'd rather not do it by prescription renewals by the pharmacy, because there's too many medical errors right now. And I don't just renew prescriptions without really discussing that with you, because I want to make sure you're on the right medications at this point in time. Your needs change over time. And my goal is to be at 165 pounds for as many days as I can at this stage. So that's something I'm going to do. I'm not mad at myself if I don't get it, but I'm going to get there. Any final thoughts from anybody? And
I'm going to try the 30 and 30.
Say that again, sorry?
I'm going to try the 30 and 30. So 30 pounds in 30 weeks. I'm going to set that as a goal.
Perfect. And let's work together on that. So one of the foundational therapies to me is using resources, SMART goals. I hope you find our book helpful. I hope you find the YouTube videos helpful. And I do. Adam and Nurme and his rest of the team will give you direct help and encouragement. I cannot do any of this stuff without with a team of hundreds of people that allow me to practice. I feel I have the best clinic in the world, not because of me, it's because the people around me, but my students and my staff, you as my patients and things of that nature. Some days I mess up and some days I'm successful, but we just keep moving forward and keep getting better. So I'm healthier now than I was 20 years ago. I still have a lot more to learn, and I'll forget most of the things. That's why this is going to record it. Any other thoughts from anybody else?
No, I think that sums it up, Dr. Curnew, very well.
Perfect. So when's our next day, Adam?
Yeah, that's exactly on the next slide here.
On 4th.
Yeah, on December the 4th. It would be on December the 4th.
So December the 4th is going to be our next Saturday morning from 9 to 10 again. For us right now is that we're just over an hour, so it's pretty close. And so
less late.
And so less late. We'll try to limit that to an hour. And what's going to happen is that Adam and Nurme and his team are going to be contacting everybody that's here, and just to help you decide some SMART goals. This will be on our YouTube channel a little bit later on today. And I thank you all for the privilege of working with you. And here's some emails for any questions that you had, or you can also email us at drcurnew232@gmail.com. And I look forward to always working with people. And one of the things, as you can see, is that thanks to these young people here, we can actually always get better and always update. And And I thank everybody, and have a great day, and
Thank you.
we'll be in contact. And this is a good day on your health journey.
Thank you for your
so much.
time.
Thank you,
Yep.
everybody.
Thank you.